Former New York Jet Aaron Glenn has been linked to coaching the New York Jets, and he's been getting a ton of praise from Lions head coach Dan Campbell, where Glenn's on his staff. And this has Jets fans fired up, as a former Jet coming from a great coaching tree could be coming to the New York Jets. And obviously Dan Campbell's a fan of the way he coaches. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as usual, because look, there's been some noise that Aaron Glenn could be a coach for the New York Jet, and something that has been mentioned by Dan Campbell is that he's been doing a great job. Now, Campbell mentioned that the more challenges you throw at Aaron Glenn, the more he thrives. He's a grinder and always looks for the matchups first. Now, also, as Sports Illustrated has headlined, the Jets selected Glenn with their first-round pick in 1994. He spent the first 8 years of his 15-year NFL career with the Jets and was twice selected to the Pro Bowl. He was named to the Jets' 1990s All-Decade team. Glenn coming to the Jets, I mean, the Jets' history isn't great, but you have a guy who was a historically great Jet. He knows that he understands what he's walking into here, and I mean, the Lions are a phenomenal team, and there's a reason to be going for guys who are on the Lions staff, as also every team's going to be looking at Ben Johnson if you need a head coach.
So, Jets fans, of course we want an offensive guy to be the head coach because our offense has been really bad for a really long time. But this type of hire has worked in the past. We just watched last year successfully the Houston Texans hired DeMeco Ryans as their head coach. He was an ex-player, ex-Houston Texans linebacker, who then also brought in another offensive coach with him to coach the offensive coordinator, to be the offensive coordinator, while DeMeco took care of the head coaching responsibilities. The offensive coordinator that he brought in was Bobby Slowick, who is also a favorite for this Jets job. They were both on the San Francisco 49ers staff under Kyle Shanahan. So Bobby Slowick was the pass game coordinator while DeMeco Ryans was the defensive coordinator, and they both went to the Houston Texans and they found a ton of success there. Also last year, or at the start of this year, we saw the Atlanta Falcons do the exact same thing. They went to one of the best teams, the LA Rams. They got the defensive coordinator from the Rams, Raheem Morris, to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And with him, he brought Zach Robinson from the Rams. What position, or what coach was he on the Rams? Pass game coordinator for 2 years. He comes in to Atlanta. We see their pass game has been doing really well this year with Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and Kirk Cousins. So now, Aaron Glenn, ex-player, just like DeMeco, defensive head coach, just like those other guys that were mentioned. He has to, if he's going to be a successful head coach for the New York Jets, he would have to bring an offensive guy with him. And looking at their coaching staff, there is one guy on the offense who he could potentially take with him. His name is Tanner Engstrand. He is the passing game coordinator, just like the other two guys who were turned into full-time offensive coordinators. So if Aaron Glenn came to the Jets and returned to the Jets, it would be the number one thing that he's got to do, other than build a culture, is make sure that he gets a coach who can coach the offense. Because Aaron Glenn, he's a defensive coach. He's not going to be responsible for the offense, but he is responsible for, with the help of the GM, finding an offensive coordinator who is capable of running an offense. So if the Jets can get that locked down and an actually good offense going next year, this team could be a lot more fun to watch.
Especially considering, well, first of all, you're going to get a culture regardless because you're coming from that Dan Campbell Lions team, and, I mean, they were at the beginning, now they're just a great football team, but at the beginning they were just all culture. That's what they were, and we saw it work, and they've made good moves, and now they're one of the best teams in the NFL. But also, Dan Campbell himself, former Lion, coaches the Lions. The Lions are back. It's been a successful game plan so far. It interests me for the Jets doing that because you'll get the culture there. But also considering, there's not going to be a clear answer on Aaron Rodgers' future in the NFL until the Jets season ends. He's not going to give anyone any heads up on what he's doing. That would be so out of character for him, especially when it's been heavily noted that the Jets' decisions on coaching has a blatant effect on if Aaron Rodgers is returning. There's been some initial thoughts that maybe Aaron Rodgers likes the idea of Jeff Ulbrich being the head coach. It feels like that's just not going to happen, though. That just doesn't feel like a likely scenario.
So he did say that he could be just being a good teammate and supporting the head coach, which he really should be doing. But there's also a world where he actually does want Jeff Ulbrich to stay, because Jeff Ulbrich is going to let Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wants to do on offense. Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to be successful as a Jets quarterback, he has to open himself up to become a coachable player. Right now, he wants to just run whatever plays he wants to do. He likes to get to the line of scrimmage, find a matchup that he likes, whether it's Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson on a not very good cover corner or a linebacker, and he wants to exploit that matchup. However, there's just too much change in the offense, and it's too difficult for all of the receivers to keep up with what Aaron Rodgers is doing, making all the hand signals and changing plays around, and it's really bogging down the offense. That's why what you see when there have been a ton of plays where Aaron Rodgers will throw the ball into space and the receiver will either stop early, or Aaron Rodgers will throw it short and then the receiver will just keep going straight. So if you actually watch on film, you can see that the original play call was for the Jets to do the same thing on both sides. And the guy all the way on one side of the field is supposed to either run a full go route or like a 4 or 5 yard hitch route and turn around. And Aaron Rodgers gives him a hand signal, and the receiver doesn't get the hand signal right. So Aaron Rodgers throws either the go or the hitch, and the receiver runs the other route. And it's so frustrating because you see the guy on the other side of the field runs the route that Aaron Rodgers throws, but the other guy just didn't get the message. The guys are not on the same page on the offense, and it's because Aaron Rodgers is trying to be the coach, and Aaron Rodgers is completely taking over, and it's not working. Aaron Rodgers is not at a point in his career where he's good enough to cover up the fact that he doesn't like he can attack these matchups. He can, but he is not a full-time coach. He's not an offensive coordinator and a quarterback at the same time. So when he can't, someone's got to be calling the plays for him, and they got to work him into a scheme. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay worked him into a scheme, and Aaron hated it to start. But after he got with the program, their offense looked really, really good. And now with Jordan Love there, we see how good Matt LaFleur's scheme really is on offense. After Aaron Rodgers, pretty much, actually, he enforced his way out. The Packers wanted him out. But he has a history of clashing with coaches, and whoever the next coach is, whether it's Aaron Glenn or someone else, the number one most important thing is for Aaron Rodgers to be coachable, because he can't do it by himself. He doesn't want to admit that because he's a very prideful player, but he's got to be able to be coachable and just do what he's just got to. Maybe he doesn't trust the coaches. He's got to be with someone he trusts, and he's got to be willing to listen to other people.
It becomes this question of, are you ever going to see Aaron Rodgers want to sort of really, really do this with the Jets unless he's allowed to do everything his way? Clearly that way has gone the opposite of working. It's been terrible. He has a worse winning percentage than both Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson did. And you look at the Jets, I feel like if Rodgers sticks around next year, and we probably won't know till the most random time, because that's Aaron Rodgers' style of just, surprise, I'm retiring, or surprise, guess who's your quarterback next year? Like, it feels like it'll probably be somewhat random, or directly after the final game, after the Jets and the Dolphins play, and the Jets obviously aren't in the playoffs, and whatever happens directly after that, I don't know, you're sad again because once again the Jets blew it, but like, it's this situation of Aaron's going to say it randomly, or he's going to say it 5 minutes after the game ends. It's one or the other. He's going to say it in the press conference, be like, nope, I'm done, not doing this. I'm not just going to keep taking hits or whatever because I'm just getting rocked around. I mean, I don't know how he didn't see the sack coming last game, but whatever. It's a matter of if Aaron Rodgers wants to not just be coachable, if he wants to be difficult or not. Because there's times when he is. Like, he loves doing things his way, and his way is not always clear. We don't know what's going to happen, essentially, with Aaron Rodgers. No one does. Except for Aaron Rodgers, who probably doesn't know what he's going to do yet. If
you can call it what it is. You can call it what it is. His way doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to run play action, and he doesn't want to run motion. Matt LaFleur's offense was all about motion, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't want a motion. But the league, you look at all the top offenses, tons of motion. That's where the NFL is going. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to adjust, the NFL is going to leave him behind.
It's a question of, is he going to get involved with the head coaching search? Because then we'll probably know the answer. Because who's going to be the GM?
I really hope not. I really hope Aaron Rodgers does not have a lot of say in the head coaching search, because he has already had too much say in this team. If he knew what he was doing, it would be okay that he had all this say, but he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know how to run a successful offense in the NFL. If we had a really good coach, I think he still could be the quarterback for a playoff team, but we don't have good enough coaches because he brought in coaches that were going to run the offense that he wants to run, which sucks.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not just finding a head coach, it's finding a GM. So it's just Rodgers and Chris Johnson there. And
yeah, I guess we could probably make some, like, there hasn't been any news about finding a new GM yet for the coach because we still have Joe Douglas, but it's written in the tea leaves at this point. Joe Douglas got to be like 99% on his way out. So
look at him, dude.
I mean,
he's out. He's not coming back. He knows he's not coming back.
He can't come back.
Dejected.
I don't like feel bad for him, but I just for the coaches that we've had, they weren't good enough. For Joe Douglas, I really wish it could have been different.
Here's the thing. The same thing happens repeatedly, where coaches don't want to take the job because they know they're essentially cooked on day one, that in 3 years they're going to get fired. And
that's if you get 3 years. Some of these owners don't even give you 3.
Yeah, so on top of that, now imagine one trying to find a GM, but also, and we'll save that whole thing for another time, but just the sense of Joe Douglas, like quarterbacks and many coaches, and given a lot of the Jets coaching decisions have just been the wrong move. Like straight up, just they're making the wrong move regardless. But like, you have to look at this and think like Joe Douglas is getting as screwed as quarterbacks do, which is insane. Like it's unbelievable. I feel like Joe Douglas has been good. I really do. Almost every move he's ever made, I've agreed with, and maybe I'm just wrong. Then I think.
No, I know what you're trying to say because a lot of his draft picks have been really good, and his big decisions that have blown up in his face, a lot of them looked really good in the moment. Like Jets fans, everyone that's saying fire Douglas now, they were all excited when Aaron Rodgers got traded here.
Yeah.
So it sucks that it didn't work out, but it's so hard you can't sit here and say the move wasn't to go get Aaron Rodgers. The team was a quarterback away. The problem was that we got the quarterback, but not all the quarterback that we thought. But this team doesn't have a head coach. No team has ever made it to the playoffs while firing their head coach in the middle of the season. It will probably never happen. And I don't know why Woody Johnson thought the Jets were going to be the outlier, but if he wants to keep meddling in with the teams, if he wants to keep meddling with team decisions like that in the middle of the season, it's never going to work out. Firing the head coach is a white flag move. That is this guy is definitely not the move for the future, and he's so bad that I want to get rid of him right now. That there is no way anyone was ever going to be able to get fired and have the team still make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. It's just too much change. And honestly, we'll see if Aaron Rodgers is going to make the decisions in free agency once it's just him and Chris Johnson there, because for some reason that man's probably going to have, especially with Chris Johnson coming in and not being the guy who's running the team, he's probably going to defer to Rodgers, who he's just excited to get to work with. But guys, let us know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.